All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're jumping into one of the biggest, most epic stories ever told. I'm talking about the Great Flood, right from chapters 6 through 10 of the book of Genesis. So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through this chapter by chapter. First, why the world was condemned in the first place. Then, the flood itself. After that, we'll look at the new beginning, the famous Rainbow Covenant, and finally, how all the nations of the world, according to the text, came from this one family. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, so first things first. Why was this flood even necessary? Well, our story kicks off in a world that had just completely spun out of control. We're talking chaos, corruption. Things got so bad that it called for, well, a pretty dramatic divine response. Let's dig into what was going on. And man, the text does not mince words. It paints this really bleak picture of humanity. It wasn't just, people doing bad things. It says that every single thought, every imagination of the human heart was just evil all the time. And this wasn't just an observation. This widespread wickedness actually caused God deep grief. Think about that. A really powerful, emotional way to describe divine sorrow over what creation had become. But here is where it gets really interesting. You've got this world that's just drowning in violence and corruption. And then there's this one guy, Noah. He's totally singled out. He's called just and perfect for his time. And it says he found grace. This is such a key point, right? It's this classic theme that even when everything around you seems hopeless and corrupt, one person's character, their integrity, can still make a huge difference. So what's the plan? God gives Noah this absolutely massive job: build an ark. And look at these instructions. They are super specific. We're talking the exact kind of wood, gopher wood, the precise dimensions. This was a serious architectural plan. And you have to realize, this wasn't just about building a big boat to survive a storm. No. This was a massive test of faith, of obedience. The whole point was to create a vessel that could save a piece of every living thing from what was coming. All right, so the ark is built, the prep work is done. Now the story really pivots. We're moving from getting ready for the storm to the storm itself. This is it. This is where Noah's faith gets its biggest test. And, well, the world is never going to be the same again. Just look at this timeline. It really shows you the insane scale of this thing. The language is so epic, right? The fountains of the great deep breaking open, the windows of heaven opening up. It's describing water coming from everywhere, from below and from above. This makes it super clear. We're not just talking about a really bad rainstorm. This was a total deconstruction of the world, a complete reset of the planet's landscape. And get this, the text gives us a very specific number here, 15. It says the water rose 15 cubits higher than the tallest mountains. Now, a cubit, it's an old measurement, basically from your elbow to the tip of your middle finger. So to put that in perspective, we're talking about the water level being over 22 feet higher than the highest peaks. That little detail is so important because it just hammers home how total this flood was. There was literally nowhere to run, no high ground to escape to. So what's the result of all this? It's absolute, total. The flood basically hits the reset button on all of creation. The text is blunt: all flesh died. The only survivors? Noah and everyone and everything with him on that ark. It's such a powerful, stark image, isn't it? The old, corrupt world completely washed away, and this one single boat floating on the water, carrying the future. Okay, so after all that destruction, after months and months on the water, the whole tone of the story starts to change. We move away from judgment, and we start to see these first little glimmers of a new world. Mercy, that's the theme that's about to step into the spotlight. So you have to wonder, right? In the middle of this world that's completely underwater, has Noah just been forgotten? I mean, after the disaster, after all that time floating on a basically endless ocean, what now? And the answer we get is a huge turning point in the whole story. It's a simple but incredibly powerful phrase: and God remembered Noah. That one act of remembering is what kicks off the entire restoration process. It's all about faithfulness. And it starts with a wind that starts to push back the waters and signal that the end of the flood is near. And then we get this amazing sequence with the birds. It's such a great way to show hope slowly returning. Noah sends out a raven first, which just kind of flies back and forth. Then he sends a dove, and it comes back with nothing. But the next time, the dove returns with a freshly picked olive leaf. And that olive leaf, wow, it becomes this timeless, powerful symbol for peace, for a fresh start, for life starting all over again. All right, the world is dry. It's time to get off the ark. Now, God lays out a new set of rules and, maybe more importantly, a powerful, permanent promise for all of humanity, and for all of creation, really. This next chapter is all about setting up the new normal. Now, we have to talk about this word covenant. It's super important to get what this means here. It's not just a casual promise, like, I promise I'll call you later. No, a covenant is a serious, formal, binding agreement. It's something that defines the entire relationship between God and humanity from this point on. So here's the new blueprint for this post-flood world. First, that command to be fruitful and multiply, that's back on the table, just like in the very beginning. But there are some big changes. For one, humans are now allowed to eat meat. And, crucially, a new law is put in place about the sanctity of human life. This is a big deal. It sets a whole new moral and social framework for the future.
And this is the beautiful part. This is the heart of that covenant. God takes the rainbow, something that happens naturally, and gives it this incredible, deep, new meaning. It becomes the visible sign of the promise, right? A reminder for all time of God's mercy, and a promise that the world will never again be destroyed by a flood.
Okay, on to our final chapter in this story. This part is all about how the world gets repopulated from Noah's 3 sons. You can think of this chapter as a kind of bridge. It connects the flood to all the history that comes after it. So this chapter is often called the Table of Nations, and it really is like an ancient map or family tree. It traces all the peoples of the world as they knew them back to Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It's this methodical list that says, okay, this group came from this son, and they settled here. Like the Egyptians came from Ham's line, and the Hebrews from Shem's line. It's fascinating. So what's the big takeaway here? It's this foundational idea that from this one single family, the whole diverse tapestry of nations, at least as the ancient writers saw it, came to be. It's the ultimate story of a new beginning that branches out and explains where everyone came from. When you step back, you can see why this story has stuck around for thousands of years. It asks these huge, fundamental questions. It shows us this cycle of corruption and then renewal, of judgment and then incredible grace. It really makes you think about things like justice, mercy, and, of course, the powerful idea of a second chance. And honestly, those themes are just as real and relevant for us today as they were back then.